Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy Award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there. Well, thank you for joining Get Out There and Get Known podcast. So yesterday, for those that are watching live, know that we can really breathe a sigh of relief of the verdict of the Derek Chauvin case and the trial. So we are in a state of like, what's next? And so one of the reasons why I do this podcast is because I really want people to understand that if they're going to get out there and get known for what? And so primarily I want Black America, African Americans to use their voices for good, use their voices for power, because our voices matter, which is one of the things I'm so excited to have Linda Lorelle on. I have been wanting to have her on probably since earlier this year, very early on. As soon as I saw what she was doing with her podcast, I just fell in love with everything she's doing. So one of the things that you'll learn today about Our Voices Matter podcast that she's doing, about her career as an Emmy Award-winning journalist, and a little bit of fun facts about Linda in terms of her scholarships and all the things that she's doing. She is an amazing, amazing young lady. So I want to bring her up. There she is. Hey. Hi, Linda.
Oh, Pam. Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being on the show today. I wanted to give people just a little bit about your background. You know, right now you're the executive producer of Lorelle Media, and also you're known as really a masterful video storytelling, which is one of the things I want people to know too. She's a Stanford grad that really honed her storytelling skills as an Emmy Award-winning journalist. She was doing that for about a couple of decades in Houston. KPRC-TV. She's won Emmy, she's won a Gracie Award, and she also was an award awarded by American Women in Radio and TV, AWRT. AWRT, I love saying that. And then her and her husband are celebrating probably over 25 years of the Linda Lorelle Scholarship Fund, which is awarded, get this, she walks her talk, $4 million in college scholarships to Houston area students. So you can see why I was so excited to have her on, because she walks her talk. I mean, no one told her to start that scholarship and give away scholarships. So I'm just so excited to have you.
Thank you so much, Pam. It's great to be here.
And I want to publicly thank you, too, for having Judge Leanya Lloyd on as well. She was on your show and she had a blast. She had a ball.
I had a blast. It's one of my favorite interviews that I've done in the entire history of the podcast, really.
Is she interesting or what?
Oh, she's a rock star. She's a rock star. Yeah, she's awesome. Loved it.
One of the things too, she had another quote unquote career before, just kind of like you, had a different career. She was kind of like entertainment. She was a drama teacher. That's where I met her years ago. She was a drama teacher at my high school. And so tell people a little bit about your previous career before you got into broadcasting, because I find that so interesting before we get into it.
So my first career was as a professional dancer and actress. So after I graduated from Stanford, I decided that I had to follow my dreams of theater and dance. And so I did it. I danced in companies in Chicago and in Denver. And then I ultimately went to New York to try my hand at Broadway. And while I was auditioning for shows on Broadway, I injured my leg, and that ended my career. And that's when I decided to go back to school and get my master's in journalism. And that's how I ended up in TV news. That's the short version.
And just happened to be an anchor for a couple of decades,
Well,
that's just like God's grace all over you, and just the talent and the skill. Because most people I know with journalism degrees now aren't even in journalism.
yeah, it's the business is so interesting, and I really started in it right before it started to change. So it was still in the more traditional kind of journalism mode, if you will, and it was before we had entire networks that were devoted to one point of view or the other. So the landscape changed considerably almost the minute that I got out of school and started working. So it was really interesting to be in it at that time, and now to be in it in a different way, under my own umbrella, doing the kind of content that I want to do. And it's a really exciting time. Thanks to technology, we're able to do that, as you well know, because you're doing it, right?
Yes, it's an era of owning your own media. It's the era of owning. The gatekeepers are gone, and you can own the media. So before we kind of get into your podcast, I want to ask you. So when you started in broadcasting, and there's a lot of people that watch this video podcast, and they are want to get into journalism, that sort of thing. Tell us a little bit about what it was like when you got in. And I know there weren't a lot of African Americans in the newsroom. There weren't a lot of African Americans probably as anchors. I know in Detroit we had like one at a particular time, but tell us a little bit what that was like back then, because I know not only were you on the air as a journalist, but did you feel like you had the weight of like you're representing all Black people?
Okay, so let me answer that a couple of ways. So the first part of the question, what was it like? So my first TV job was in St. Louis. So while I was in school at Mizzou, University of Missouri, Columbia School of Journalism, I did get to work on the television station in the market because the school owns the NBC affiliate, which is part of the beauty of the program. So that's where I first got to actually work at a working television station. And then I got hired to work on weekends one day while I was still in school, working for KMOV in St. Louis. And that was an incredible experience. And then they hired me full time once I graduated, and I worked as a general assignment reporter. I have always been of the mind that I just need to control what I can control. And what I can control is myself and my excellence and my work ethic and how much or how little I choose to put into something. And so I just really tried to keep my head down, learn as much as I could, and not really think about so much of the broader aspects of what it meant to be in the position that I was in as an African American. And what I mean by that is that I did not let that weigh on me. Obviously, I was aware of it, and I took it very seriously. And I knew that there were people looking up to me, that in many cases I was a role model. And so I took that very seriously. But the way for me to deal with that was to just be as excellent as I could at my craft. And that's how I approached it then, and it's how I approach it now. I don't think about it in terms of I've got to represent my entire race, because no one can do that. That's not my job.
That's a lot on your shoulders to do that.
Too much for anyone. Okay. But what we can do is be the best person and human that we can be. And that is what represents us as a race, as far as I'm concerned. So that's how I look at it.
I love it. And so how did the scholarship come about?
The Scholarship Fund was the brainchild of my husband, Lou Gregory, and me together decided once I was here in Houston and was promoted to primetime anchor here at KPRC, wanting to use the visibility to do something really meaningful. He has a background in education. I love children. So we came up with the concept of creating scholarships for kids who might slip through the cracks, who might have, who might not be able to go to college because of circumstances beyond their control, might not have the best grades because of what they were born into. And that was the niche that we sort of went after. And we are now in year 30. and have given $4.5 million.
Whoa, okay. All right. I love
Five
it.
of our former scholars are now on our board of directors. And one of them just recently became the executive producer of CBS This Morning.
Are you serious?
And
That is like a full circle moment. That is like prouder than a mommy.
so many full circle moments. I can't even tell you. It's like I had one child naturally, but I've got about 375 other kids.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That is one of the things that I really want to have you on to really showcase. Like you said, you use your platform for good. You did it when you were in television doing the scholarship, inspiring now someone who is following like almost in your footsteps. And so when you left the broadcast world, television on air, now you have your own media, LindaLorelle.com. People can find out more about it there. But tell us about how Our Voices Matter podcast came about and what the vision and intention of it was.
Yes. So Our Voices Matter podcast came about as a result of the 2016 election and the divisions that became ever widening during that time. And I was distressed. It made me sit up and take notice and say to myself, okay, I can no longer just kind of do my thing and sit on the sidelines and not get actively involved. I need to be a part of a conversation that is going to help bring us together, because this is crazy. You know, we're all the same. We all want the same thing. Why can't we talk to each other? Why can't we come together? So what am I going to do? And it was either run for office or start the podcast. Couldn't run for office at that time. Maybe down the road. But I knew that I could use my voice and my skills as a journalist and an interviewer and a storyteller to create a platform that allows people to share their stories and see glimpses of themselves in someone that they consider to be the other. Because I think that that's how we get to some sort of common understanding and realize that we're all humans and we all have a right to be on this planet and have an equal playing field. And, you know, it shouldn't be that difficult. So that's how the podcast came about.
I like that. So who are some of the people, I want people to go to your website to listen to them, but who are some of the people that you've had on the podcast? When you started the podcast, you said, I need to have that voice. I need to have that voice. Our Voices Matter is the name of the podcast, but it was like, who have you had so far? It's all Black, it's Black and white.
Oh no, it's across the board. The podcast represents and reflects in very much intentionally the multicultural aspect of our society. So it's not just Black, it's not just white, it's not just Asian, it's not just straight, it's not, it's everybody, okay? Because everybody has a story and everybody's story matters. Yeah. And some people that I've interviewed are famous and celebrities, and some people that I've interviewed are just people whose story resonates with me so deeply that I think it's a story that needs to be shared. So it doesn't matter whether it's someone who has a following or not. So among the celebrities that I've interviewed, so one of the first people that I actually asked and was just so excited and blown away when she said yes is Brene Brown. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I've known Brene here in Houston because, we're technically neighbors living, not that far away from each other and see each other in social settings all the time. And I asked her about it and didn't know that she was in the process of getting ready to launch her own podcast. So before Unlocking Us and Dare to Lead. And she said yes. And so Brene Brown, Yolanda Adams, Grammy Award-winning gospel singer.
Love her. You guys got her in Houston, but we got the Clark sisters and the Winans in Detroit.
I know. So let's see, Clyde Drexler, and then, just a lot of sort of celebrity types. But then one of my favorite interviews, in addition to Judge Lianya, is an interview that I did with a woman named Hannah Adair Bonner, who is an LGBTQ Methodist minister who sat outside the jail where Sandra Bland died for months. That podcast is one I really want people to go watch and listen to. She's amazing. I interviewed a former recruiter for Al Qaeda. I've interviewed a former white supremacist.
My favorite one was when you interviewed your co-anchor host.
Oh,
and
my TV ex, my ex-TV husband.
Your ex-TV, and it just had me in tears. It had me in tears. Because he's a vet from Vietnam.
Yes.
And he talked about how people, now tearing up, how they treated him.
Yeah.
And how he never really said that he served because of the way people felt about that war.
It's only been, if I remember correctly, within the last maybe 5 to 10 years that he's even acknowledged his service and the sort of what he went through in Vietnam. Because when they came back, there was no parade and thank you for your service. Yeah. It was, talk about feeling like the other. There's a whole generation of our veterans who were made to feel like the other after serving their country. So, it gives me chills now to think about it. And that was an extraordinary interview and an opportunity for me to be able to talk to him about that, because I didn't know we were going to go there. Yeah. I really did not know we were going to go there. But once we did, I was like, okay, this part, because it was an hour interview that we did, and I divided it into two. And the second part was just about Vietnam and that whole era of his life. And what an extraordinary man. I love him dearly.
It was powerful. It really changed the way I really thought about that. I had thought about it, but then to really hear it and you bring it out in the podcast, just like, wow, we've got to do more. We've got to do more, and we've got to do better.
And how many more like him that are walking around feeling that way?
Yes. So when you are, when you were in the quote unquote traditional media, and now you're in owned media, that we call it owned and traditional, because you own your own media. So explain the process of when you're looking for guests, or who gets coverage and who doesn't. So when you're in quote unquote planning meetings, probably in, when you were in the stations in St. Louis and Houston, you had these planning meetings. Okay, we're going to pick this, and this, because this person got shot, this person got killed, this person got shot, this person got killed. Because they say, if it bleeds, it leads, right?
Yeah.
So the difference, or the depth now that you can do, what's the difference in terms of, like, just give me that, because I know there's a big difference. So tell me the joy, maybe, I guess you would feel making your guests versus where you did cover before.
The truth is that, so when I was an anchor person, I didn't really have the quote unquote authority to decide what stories were going to be covered. Yes, I could suggest stories, I could pitch stories. And, I was a part of that process, but I wasn't a news director. I was not management. Okay. So the way that a newsroom works is it's a little bit different, and every newsroom works differently. But now that I own my own media company, I'm the one who makes the decisions. I'm the one who decides what stories I want to share, what stories I think need to see the light of day, and what stories have the potential to impact those who are watching or listening to what I'm bringing to the audience. So there's so much incredible freedom with that. And to know that I can choose whose stories I can elevate, stories that might not be elevated in another traditional platform, then just watch it fly, and so the journalist in me is always thinking, how can I take what's going on in the broader world, in the broader society, and relate that to whoever it is that I'm speaking with, and today it's, we're in the aftermath of the Derek Chauvin verdict. Mm-hmm. So last night I was on Clubhouse, the social app that you're also on.
Yes.
And I interviewed Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee.
Oh my God.
Yes. So the night before, I thought, okay, who am I going to try to get to come on and talk about this when the verdict comes in? And I reached out to her, and I'm eternally grateful that she agreed. And she came on last night, and she was so powerful and so gracious and so inspiring to those who were in the room listening, because she gave them a call to action.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what we need to do to go forward. And steps are already happening. Things are already happening today. I think I just heard a report not too long ago that the Senate seems to now be making some movements to unstall that George Floyd policing bill that's passed in the House, is stalled in the Senate. There's now a little bit of momentum, and people are galvanized.
Oh my
People
God.
are galvanized. So I'm always trying to think about who I'm going to talk to and how I'm going to relate it to what's going on to help us move forward and move together.
That is it. That is it. I saw that. So that was one of the questions I was going to ask you. So you have the podcast. It's a video podcast as well as an audio podcast. So you're using Clubhouse as well. So do you record your Clubhouse and then use it future as a podcast, or how are you doing that?
Coming. That's definitely coming. So, Clubhouse is so new and it's so powerful. I love this platform. I see the potential in it is just limitless, and the ability to be able to connect with people in a moment's notice from around the globe. I mean, 24/7 is just extraordinary. So I am getting ready to explore doing the actual podcast on the platform. And I do anticipate recording, not regularly, but every now and then to record a podcast on the platform and then release it. So yes, I'm looking forward to doing it.
The whole audio revolution is really big. A couple of weeks ago, I had Dr. Ben Chavis on as well, and Nikichi Taifi on. They were on the Clubhouse and didn't record it, but we will be recording it. But Twitter also has its own version of a Clubhouse. I forgot what they call it, and Facebook is exploring that as well. So all of them are like, because of the immediacy. Now, we love podcasting. We love this, and we're on live right now. I want to say Dr. Cynthia Hickman said hello. She says Houston's finest. That's what she said. Houston proud. Yes. So she said that. So she's on there. But one of the things about Clubhouse, it is you can take it on the go, and it's just like it's right there immediately.
It's immediate. You don't have to have hair and makeup done. Hello.
Yes. Or lashes.
Right? So that's one of the beauties of it. I mean, I was on it till midnight last night.
Wow. I wish that would have been recorded, Linda. Oh my goodness.
I mean, after she left, we just kept talking. People wanted to talk. They wanted to have a sense of community, and they wanted to digest it. And so, so that's what we did.
And with you being, with George Floyd being from Houston, that's really important. I can see how that is, that some of the things. So one of the last things I want to ask is, so give advice to someone who wants to get out there and get known. They're a speaker, they're an author, they really have a message they want to share with the world, and they're trying to knock on different doors of the big networks, and they are maybe getting no. So how do they get out there and get known with their message?
Keep going. Don't stop. Just do it. Just do it. So often we think about what we want to do, and then we're afraid to take the steps, or we put a toe in the water, we get the rejection, and then we're afraid to go back and try again. And you just have to keep at it. You just have to keep at it and understand that, it's never a straight line to anything. It's always going to be a circuitous route. It's, there are ups and downs and ebbs and flows, and you just got to do it. You just got to do it and stick to it. And, as Judge Leanya would say, don't let nobody turn you around, right?
keep on trucking, baby. That's gonna be her thing.
I'm trucking.
Coming from Motown, I know she probably, because she's an entertainment lawyer as well, so I'm sure she has some of those things that's playing in her mind all the time.
Yes.
So one of the things too with COVID, you were doing them live with the, people were coming into your studio. So how did you have to make that adjustment? I want to say right now that you look beautiful. Your set looks like it is like the studio of all studios. You got the right lighting and everything. I mean, so you had the upper advantage. You had the upper hand. You had the advantage of knowing how to do all this stuff. But how did you make that transition from like, okay, now I've got all these podcasts, and you had people coming in, and the studio, the video of that is just quality. So then you had to do the split screen. Your screen looks good, but how did you train your guests to make sure that they're,
it's interesting. The whole transition from doing the live to the virtual. The good part about it is that it allows you to get more guests. Okay, I was really reluctant to do virtual because I love being in a room with someone and feeling that energy. I mean, there's nothing like the actual human connection when you're sitting next to someone. But I'm actually able to get a wider variety of guests now because thank you, Zoom, right? So I record everything on Zoom. And this is my home. I'm sitting in my home office, and I decorated it in such a way that it would, be it would have a nice backdrop. I understand about lighting. I've got a ring light here. I got another one on the side. I can put multiple cameras up. I've got tripods.
wow.
I've got microphones and all of that. And as far as the guests, I usually, in many cases, will do a pre-interview, not a pre-interview, but a pre-conversation, especially if it's with someone that I don't know and I'm just, going to be interviewing for the first time. And we will kind of talk through what the general flow of the show is, how I like to do it. I talk to them about positioning their camera and lighting and all of that sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, that stuff is important. So I've become more of a tech, more of a techpreneur, if you will, understanding how things work behind the scenes. Usually I've got a crew to do that sort of stuff for me, but now I do it myself.
Right.
On this level, not on the grand scale, of course.
But you also offer media training as well. So not only the technical part. So kind of talk about what so you've got the foundation, you got the podcast. Yeah. So talk about the last piece of your business of the media training.
Thank you for asking about that. Yeah, so I do media training, and I do sort of diversity and I won't say diversity training, because what it really, on the diversity side of it is helping to facilitate conversations about race or any conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm not a DEI certified trainer, so I don't want to say that I am, but I know how to talk about difficult issues. And so I've had major companies come to me and say, we know we need to have this conversation about race, but we're not quite sure how to do it. Can you help us? And the answer is yes, I can.
Okay.
That
is good. That is
media training is just straight up, how to, lately it's been how to deal with a virtual environment. How do you present in a virtual environment that keeps your energy level up and that is not, going to put the audience to sleep if you've got a long conference. I've trained panelists and moderators for virtual conferences when they're not used to presenting in front of a screen as opposed to a live audience. And then just how to give a good media interview with a reporter, just training as well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That is so important. One of the things I've been wanting to do, but it's hard to do with the split screen. It's like I need to stand. Sometimes we need to stand to have more energy, right?
Yep.
And so, especially if it's going to be like a long time. Yep. But if I'm standing and then everybody else isn't, it just looks weird. And just so that whole.
I think it depends on it. I get what you're saying, and it really depends on the setting and the venue. So I actually. Was training some panelists and moderators for a global virtual conference, a big energy conference. And one of the things that I said to them was, if you're presenting, I said, consider standing. Now, I'm not going to stand right now because we're on Zoom and I have leggings on underneath this gorgeous. I'm not going to stand up and show you. Okay.
That's my basic outfit every day. Leggings.
However, I did and I showed them the difference of what it looks like when you're sitting and then when you're standing. And I said, if you're somebody who talks with your hands, don't get in front of a camera and then sit on your hands. and then feel like, oh, yeah, you don't project. So you have to project. If you use your hands and your body, and obviously I'm somebody who talks that way all the time, then that's what you do. So you just want to be your natural self, and then understand that you have to project more in a virtual environment than you would in a live environment, because you want people to feel your energy coming through the screen as much as possible.
Ooh, this is a whole new thing, Linda. It's a whole new thing.
A whole new, and this world is not going away, by the way.
It's not.
It's not going away.
This is part of like our quote unquote, our new normal. And I mean, when my in-laws who are 90 and 91 can go to church via Zoom, it's part of the new normal.
My uncle, who's I think 85, 86, he does Zoom church on Sundays.
See?
He does church. And I'm like, go ahead, Uncle Vernon.
Yes, that is like part of it. We don't want to miss it. We just have to go about it a different way.
Yeah.
So Linda Lorelle, thank you so much for being here today on Get Out There and Get Known. I know that people, if they want to get media training, they can contact you, Linda Lorelle. She's a pro at it. She can help you if you feel a little nervous about getting on camera. I told one of my Ready, Set, Go Speak members, I says, when you're on the video, don't lean in like this and look down. It's like
my favorite is like this, or the it's like half off the screen. It's like
I was like,
looking, can you see?
I was like, oh my God. I said, what are you doing? I said, so you just need a little bit of training. So I really try to help people just really get out there, get known, getting in media and PR and things like that. But just like the whole setup of other things in terms of the lighting, the sound bites, those are things sometimes I think maybe people need a little expertise in someone contacting someone like you would be helpful. So make sure that you go to Linda Lorelle, you find out about her foundation, you'll find out about her podcast, and also about her company as well, her media company as well. So is there anything else that you'd like to add before we kind of close up today?
This has been such a joy to talk to you. I have really enjoyed this conversation. And, I think the only thing I'd like to add is that I just want everyone out there to know that you are loved and you are worthy, just like you are. And, we just need to accept each other, who we are, and embrace each other with empathy and encouragement. That's my mantra. Empathy and encouragement. Just give somebody that little extra, you got this, and open your heart.
Yeah.
There's enough for all of us. There's enough for all of us. Yeah.
In the words of Stevie Wonder, I hear this song in my head, love's in need of love today. Right. So it's like, I want to be able to put music in, but they'll probably slap it down if I put it on there on YouTube. but that song about love's in need of love today. Yes. And that really is the answer. I mean, Bernice King, I follow her on Twitter. She is so encouraging. I'm like, oh, I just want to just hug her. Yeah. And make sure that people follow you on Clubhouse. Is it Linda Lorelle on Clubhouse? Or
Yep.
Yeah, so follow you on Clubhouse.
And the club is Our Voices Matter on Clubhouse. So yeah, it's all connected.
Okay, good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. We are just so happy to just have had you on, and there will be show notes for this episode as well. So look for those in a couple of weeks, but those who caught it live really got the treat. So Linda, thank you so much for joining us today on Get Out There and Get Known. All righty, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.